Case problem number 7 by marites Students and Jenny Shannon Moran. Case problem identifying weakness and inefficiencies in a purchasing system. Madeline Jones, Lesimore Company's purchasing department manager, has established new policies and procedures to guide the day-to-day operations of purchasing agents and clerical staff. She is satisfied that the policies and procedures conform with management's objectives and that there are no major deficiencies either in the department's policies or in the procedures that control the department's operation. Some of the policies and procedures follow. All significant purchases are put out to competitive bid, although the likelihood of timely delivery and vendor reliability are considered in awarding contracts. Bullet purchasing provides vendors with memoranda detailing minimum acceptable product quality specifications. Bullet the materials, rather than the purchasing department manager is responsible for assuring that vendors adhere to quality specifications. Bullet the materials department manager prepares purchase requests based on a 4-month production schedule. Bullet 90% of a critical raw material is supplied by a single vendor. The vendor, the low bidder, in each of the past few years, has a good delivery record and is quite reliable. Bullet, as production plans change, rush and expedite. Orders are made directly to the purchasing department by production managers. Materials ordered for cancelled production runs are stored for future use, although the costs for rush and expedite orders are borne exclusively by the purchasing department. Jones considers the costs essential to the department's reputation as a contributing team player. Materials needed to accomplish engineering changes are ordered by the purchasing department immediately after the engineering department approves changes. Jones is proud of the purchasing department's quick response. Materials on hand are not reviewed before any orders are placed. Partial shipments and advance shipments, that is, those received before the requested date of delivery, are accepted by the materials manager, who notifies the purchasing department of the receipt. The purchasing department is responsible for following up in partial shipments. No action is taken to discourage advance shipments. Required. Identify weakness and inefficiencies in Lesimore Company's purchasing policies and procedures, and make recommendation to improve each. Theoretical framework. Purchasing involves the acquisition of goods and services from vendors. Goods include tangible resources, such as inventory, supplies and equipment, and services include non-tangible resources, like advertising, repairs, and maintenance, utilities and insurance. Regardless of what department acquires the goods and services, though the purchase and subsequent payment are processed through the expenditure or disbursement cycle, an employee of the department that requests the purchase prepares a purchase requisition, which is submitted to supervisor for approval. Approved purchase requisitions are forwarded to purchasing, where the requests are reviewed. A vendor selected. Order prepared. A purchase order describes the goods and services requested, specifying price, quantity, shipping terms, and catalog numbers. Copies of purchase order are sent by purchasing to the vendor and to the requisitioning department, to receiving, and to accounts payable. Goods ordered from vendors are delivered to the receiving department, where the goods are compared with the purchase order and a receiving report is prepared. Receiving department personnel also maintain a receiving log cross-reference to related receiving reports. Third, case analysis or answer. Policies and procedures. 1. All significant purchases are put out to competitive bid, although the likelihood of timely delivery and vendor reliability are considered in awarding contracts. Weakness and inefficiencies. Only delivery and vendor reliability are considered in awarding contracts. High risks for competitive bids. Recommendation. They need to consider the cost, quality in awarding the contracts. Competitive bids should be properly documented according to policy to ensure transparency and fairness in the procedures. Policies and procedures. 2. Purchasing provides vendors with memoranda detailing minimum acceptable product quality specifications. Weakness and inefficiencies. Minimum product quality specification. Low level of assurance in product quality specification. Recommendation. Her purchasing department should be the one to require the vendor to provide the product quality specification. It should also require maximum product quality specification. Verify rapidly the acquired quality product that satisfies users' need with measured capability at a fair and reasonable price. Policies and procedures. 3. The materials, rather than the purchasing department manager, is responsible for assuring that vendors adhere to quality specifications. Weakness and inefficiencies. No cited weakness and or efficiency. Recommendation on or recommendation needed. Policies and procedures. 4. The materials department manager prepares purchase requests based on a 4-month production schedule. Weakness and inefficiencies. Quantities of materials. Manager prepares purchasing requests based on production schedules and not requisitions received from operating departments. Job segregation. Recommendation. Purchasing requests prepared by materials manager are to be based on requisitions received from operating departments and not production schedules for a 4-month period. The purchasing department manager/staff must be in to prepare the purchase requests. Policies and procedures. 5. 90% of a critical raw material is supplied by a single vendor. The vendor, the low bidder in each of the past few years, has a good delivery record and is quite reliable. Weakness and inefficiencies. The majority of lessor's requirements for a critical raw material are supplied by a single vendor. Lack of monitoring on materials delivered. Too much reliance/trust in the supplier. Recommendation is best to develop alternate sources of supply for critical materials. The obvious benefits are reduced reliability on a single vendor, and reduced possibility of lost production both of materials shortages and/or other interruptions in the operation due to a single vendor. Always monitor the materials being delivered every time there is a scheduled delivery of the materials regardless of the vendor/supplier's past records. Policies and procedures 6. As production plans change, rush and expedite orders are made directly to the purchasing department by production managers. Materials ordered for cancelled production runs are stored for future use. Although the costs for rush and expedite orders are borne exclusively by the purchasing department, Jones considers the costs essential to the department's reputation as a contributing team player. Weakness and inefficiencies. Rush and expedite orders are made by production directly to the purchasing department without consulting the materials manager. Lack of order/purchase planning. Recommendation. Rush and expedite orders should be reviewed by the material manager to determine if any of the orders can be filled using existing inventories. Make a schedule in the materials needed for the production, and if something happens unexpected, find an alternative solution to a problem, because rush and expedite orders can cause high cost, but there is no guarantee of quality product. Policies and procedures 7. Materials needed to accomplish engineering changes are ordered by the purchasing department immediately after the engineering department approves changes. Jones is proud of the purchasing department's quick response. Materials on hand are not reviewed before any orders are placed. Weakness and inefficiencies. Engineering changes are not discussed with other departments before the materials needed to implement the change are ordered. Lack of items verification/supervision. Recommendation. The proposed changes should be reviewed thoroughly by various company departments before an order is placed. Inventory report is needed before purchasing another batch of materials. This is to avoid unused materials. The purchasing department should review the materials on hand first, before they place any order. Policies and procedures 8. Partial shipments and advance shipments, that is, those received before the requested date of delivery, are accepted by the materials manager, who notifies the purchasing department of the receipt. The purchasing department is responsible for following up in partial shipments. No action is taken to discourage advance shipments. Weakness and inefficiencies. Accounting is not notified by the materials manager of the receipt of partial shipments. Partial shipment of materials delivered. Recommendation. Besides notifying the purchasing department of the receipt of partial shipments, the materials manager should also inform the accounting department, so that vendor invoices can be processed correctly. Encourage the vendor/supplier to fully deliver the materials needed in time to avoid any delay in the production. The end. Thank you and God bless you all, by marites Drespoons and Jenny Shannon Moran.